Good evening and welcome to Finding Answers. We have a very interesting program tonight because we're going to be speaking about happiness. Do you consider yourself a happy or unhappy person? Actually, some of the facts we're going to be presenting tonight might even shock you. At least they shocked me when I got in touch with them. But if you would put yourself on the group of those who are happy, why? What makes you happy? Or if you would categorize yourself among those who are unhappy, why are you unhappy and what you think could make you happy? Can faith be an element that will contribute to your happiness? And if so, how so? So we have interesting things to talk about. We have a live guest who will share with us how faith had a positive impact on her happiness. And we're going to prove tonight that through faith it is possible to regain happiness. Even if at some point you may even say, I was happy at a certain point, but something happened or several things happening right now. I am in the group of those who I consider myself unhappy. Can you regain happiness? Evidently, it's possible. And faith is definitely an element to include in the equation. Pastor Bruno is also with us on tonight's program. Good evening, Pastor Bruno, and your opinion on tonight's topic.
Good evening, Pastor Edward, and good evening to everyone at home. It is alarming. I was also with you listening to the numbers, which we'll present in a moment to the viewer. It is alarming the number of people who are unhappy in society today. And I believe this has to do with people pushing God away out of the scene, out of their lives, and making an empty space, creating an empty space inside, a space that they cannot fill in with anything else because it's the space of God. Mm-hmm. And that would be, in my opinion, the main reason for unhappiness. And yes, I believe faith can help the person make that connection with God and thus filling this gap inside, this emptiness inside. So faith can definitely help one get happiness back.
Very good. What can we do to regain happiness? What is the root of unhappiness? Pastor Bruno already raised a point here. We're going to be discussing about this on tonight's episode. We'll come back right after this video.
Coming up, we're living in a society where only 3 out of 10 of us claim to be happy. But who's to blame? Is it the individual? Is it the new pressures of modern society? Could it be the endless choices we have and the constant reminder that we could be doing better? Or is it something deeper? Could a lack of faith be the root of our unhappiness? Stay tuned for tonight's show, where we'll be speaking to one lady who turned her frown upside down and regained her happiness.
So this is what we're going to talk about tonight, how to regain happiness through faith. And I believe, Pastor Bruno, one of the main reasons why people are unhappy, 7 out of 10, according to the statistics we just showed, would consider them to be unhappy. I think it has a lot to do with the search for happiness on external things, on making more money, having more friends, or having the right person around. All these things are good. All these things are, it's good to have money, right? Especially if someone is wise enough to make good use of it. It's good to have good friends. We're social beings. We don't want to live in a shell. It's good to be happily married. It's a blessing. But happiness doesn't start with that, because there's people who have a very good spouse, beautiful children, money in the bank, a large circle of friends, but still they feel empty and unhappy. It might be the case of some of our viewers right now, because to understand happiness, we have to understand where it starts. And I believe it starts inside, especially, as you raised the point previously here, by having a relationship with God. Not religion. I'm not saying that you have to have a religion, but you cannot push God out of the equation, out of your life, I don't believe it's possible for someone to be fully happy without a close relationship with God.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head there, Pastor Edward, because in fact, Jesus is the one talking about this, and he wants us to be happy. We find it in John 10:10 when he said, I came to bring life and life more abundantly. So yes, he wants us to have abundant life. You spoke about also religion, that we are not trying to make people make a connection to religion. It's nothing to do with religion, my friend. We are talking about a connection with God directly, personal, because religion acts as a middleman. And I remember religion taught my mother and many people that I knew that they had to be poor. But Jesus said, I came to bring abundant life. But money cannot be the center of the life of a person, because money is a good slave, but can never be your master. And many people are being unhappy because in this quest for money, for prosperity, they find a master, not a slave. So they don't use money, money uses them. And they are, like you said, looking for this happiness in external things, when this happiness should start really inside of them.
Yeah, it can bring moments of happiness, right? But then again, that moment comes to an end. And then what do? I have to look for another moment of happiness. And then people live like this, like a kind of Tarzan, you know, from vine to vine, you know, from day to day, from party to party, from nightclub to nightclub, pub to pub, night to night, like this. But never really being happy inside. When you have the true happiness inside, if you have people around you, that's great. If you don't, that's still great. You know, if you have money, that's fine. If you don't happen to have money, you're still fine. You know that eventually you're going to make it, right? Because it's inside of you. It's not just a moment. It's a state of mind, a state, or an emotional state. It's a constant. Even when something bad happens and you do feel sad about it, but you don't dwell on that sadness, because the presence of God inside a person is just too strong. Pastor Bruno, I'll even show now a video. But I would like the viewer to stay with us, because I'm going to make a comment after this video. I was watching a series just so I could try to get a better understanding on what people think and feel in our modern days. And it's a series that is about a young person who committed suicide. It's a series, it's just fictional. But the issues it approaches, it's even difficult for us to understand actually what goes on in the mind of some people today, because the disconnection from God is so big. And once we're disconnected from God, you know, so far away from Him, we can really start feeling things and entertaining thoughts that when we're close to God, it would be so easy to dismiss them. It would be so easy not to be operating by these feelings. But the distance from God can really make an individual so weak, emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, all across the board, as to really bring a tragic, and it's a fictional series, however, I know it's a true issue today. There's people who even come to the point of suicide, unfortunately, due to the depth of their emptiness, the depth of their sadness. But if you're going through this, stop now and watch us. Please give us the opportunity to show you, to prove to you that you can regain happiness. And we're not going to do that just by words. We're going to show you stories, true ones, of people who are able to reverse the unhappiness into happiness by including the element called faith. Watch this story with attention. Watch the story of Milka, and we'll come back with more funny answers.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to It's Possible Through Faith. My name is Christy, and my job is to find out whether faith can really have an impact in someone's life. I have here today with me Milka, and she's ready to tell her story. Hi Milka, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How was your life before finding faith?
Growing up, my family was a mess. My parents were always arguing, and school wasn't somewhere where I wanted to be. And when I was 9 years old, I was sexually abused by a family member. So I just developed depression from like a really early age. From 12, I was drinking. Like, I was just really fake at school as well. Like, they were pretty, if I thought a girl was pretty, I would bully her, I would make her feel like she was nothing because I felt like nothing. I was really empty. So when I got to 13, I got into a relationship, and between the ages of 13 and 19, I've never been single. Like, I'm 19 right now, I've never been single because I just needed somebody to be feeling the emptiness inside of me, but that never happened. So instead, then I turned to drugs as well. Like, I got involved with the wrong crowds. The depression just started to grow. I just got to the point where I didn't even want to live anymore. Like, life was meaningless to me.
So, who introduced you to the concept of faith? When did you decide to start using your faith?
I believe I started using my faith when I was desperate to live. I had nothing to lose, so it was genuinely, then I just threw myself into it. Just when you have nothing else, like, believing in faith is your last resort. You give it everything you have, and it really works for me. My life is completely different now.
How is your life today then?
But yeah, I get along with my family now. Yeah. My sister and my dad come to the church as well, and I just, like, it's a pleasure to wake up in the morning now. It's a pleasure to be alive. So yeah.
So if you at home are facing a similar situation as Milka did, or may know somebody who does, please do not hesitate to get in contact with us. Our number is 0207 686 6300, where one of our advisors will be more than happy to speak to you. But that's all from me for now. Back to you at the studio.
So thank you, Christy, and thank you, Milka, for sharing your story. And I want to use this moment that we have here before our first break to tell you that if you're struggling with deep sadness, if you're going through a really difficult moment in life right now and you don't have anyone to talk to, because maybe when you try to open up to someone, they even use what you said against you. And now you are to a point you don't trust opening up to people anymore. But you can find help through finding answers, because we have advisors, trained advisors, standing by to take your call. 0207 686 6300. I guarantee you, 1 minute on the phone with one of them, hearing words of faith, will bless your life. You're not going to stay on the same state of mind that you are now. And here we are. If you would like to have this kind of help, we are here to hear you. Okay? If you're having problems, you're welcome to call us right now. Alternatively, you can also send us an email to help@findinganswers.tv is the email address of Finding Answers. Pastor Bruno, you were telling me here off camera while Milka was sharing her story that there's a difference between fun and happiness. And one must understand it's a clear difference between these two words.
Yes, I was reading an article, unfortunately I don't remember the author of the article, but most important than that is that this article was talking about the youth of nowadays, how most of the youth, they don't know the difference between fun and happiness. So goes back to what you were saying at the beginning, they're searching for happiness, but in the wrong places, in the wrong things, you know, in external things. In parties, in going out, in clubs. But what they find is not happiness. They find fun, yes, and they think they are happy at that moment. But next week, next weekend, they need to repeat the doses, and it's like an addiction. They need to repeat the doses to feel themselves happy again. But it's just at the moment, it's fun, but not happiness.
And the best evidence of that is that in the beginning we showed that number. 3 out of 10 will consider themselves happy, which means 7 out of 10 would consider themselves unhappy. But we don't have to settle for that. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we will have Rachel here and also Stella, our live guest, and I am certain that you will be inspired by the story she's going to share after this.
Do the maths. Changing your life is not as simple as changing your hairstyle, your shirt, or rearranging the furniture in your living room. You're talking about years of deep-rooted habits, behaviours and problems that are not going to change overnight. Many may say, think positively, but the trouble with that is that you can't do or change anything with just thoughts. But add action into the equation and the outcome can be different. Let's do the maths. Positive thinking plus action equals a change. Whatever it is, if the change is significant, if it's worthwhile, then it will have to take time, effort, and homework from you.
Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show.
Welcome back to Finding Answers, and we're talking about it's possible to regain happiness, especially when you include God on the equation, when you include God in the mix. Okay, and we are showing it to you through the testimonies, and we are going to have one here tonight with us shortly that I am sure will inspire you. Rachel is also with us this evening. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening.
So tell us about your thoughts on what we're talking about tonight. Happiness, is it possible to regain it after you were unhappy? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things in the way of people achieving their happiness right now. It's a bit like what Pastor Bruno was saying about the external kind of forces, such as one of them being technology. And I recently went to a talk by a woman called Samantha Clark, who prides herself as being an expert in happiness, which I think is a great job title. Anyway, she was discussing the relationship between technology and happiness, or rather unhappiness, and the way in which we can create a happy relationship with technology. And while it's recently become trendy to detox from technology altogether, because a lot of experts have proven that, you know, it's not making anyone happier by using this kind of thing, especially social media, Samantha argues that this isn't the answer. In fact, she doesn't believe in detox because she says it doesn't address the root of the problem. Even if people manage to detox from maybe their phone or from social media for a weekend or a week or even a month, it's still likely that they still won't have addressed the reasons behind their addiction, and they'll just slip into old habits again afterwards. So what can we do? Well, first of all, we can become more aware of our relationships with our phones. So do you sleep with it beside your head at night? Or do you maybe find it difficult to sit through a meal with a friend without checking it? I realised during the talk that actually I scroll through notifications first thing in the morning rather than getting up and exercising or reading or going outside, which I was told by Samantha is one of the worst things that we can do for our brain, especially in the morning. She also says that by paying attention to the times of day that we feel compelled to post on social media, finding out when we want that kind of buzz of the feedback that we receive, we can actually find out a lot about what's really making us unhappy in life. So really what we're saying is it's not about cutting out social media completely, but becoming aware of our habits and asking ourselves if we can use our time in better ways. I don't know if you agree with this.
I do, actually. I do, Rachel. I think that, you know, people are searching more and more for connections when it comes to internet, and it brought a lot of disconnection when it comes to people, you know. I'll never forget one experience. We were out, you know, a group of friends, went to a restaurant, and when we sat down, there was a couple already sat down and being served, but actually it was my wife that noticed it. She said, you see, from the beginning, we were there for about an hour and a half. It was a group of friends. They were there throughout the time we were there, and she doesn't remember seeing them exchange even, you know, one set of words. It was the whole time, one on the phone and the other one on the phone, and they ate their food and then they left. So I think it hurts. I think it's something easy to control you. You know, if you're not careful, if you're not going to discipline yourself to say, okay, this is getting too much, it's starting to affect me. It's like 20 years ago, we didn't live with we didn't have smartphones to begin with. So we were not so reliant on what they do. So it's possible, to live. Of course, this depending on the pressure of the job or what a person has to do, they have to check it every so often. But still, there are ways out there where you don't have to be controlled by this kind of thing. And I think that it does interfere with people's happiness today. But people can also share their opinion, right? We have the social media. Could you give the details, please?
Definitely. Actually, maybe if you are one of these people, you want to get in touch and let us know that you are sucked in by this. It's probably quite easy because it is through social media that you can do this. So you can get in touch with us through Facebook if you look us up at Finding Answers. We're also on Instagram, which is the same, at Finding Answers. So you can actually direct message us on Instagram as well if you have something to say on that. You can also email us. If you want to email us, it's help@findinganswers.tv. And you can also find us on Twitter at Find Answers TV. Or maybe you want to look up our old episodes, so just look us up on YouTube at Finding Answers.
That's very good. So now is the time when we're going to speak to our live guest, Stella, and I am certain she has a very inspiring story to tell. Let's hear what she has to say.
Pushing me for the rest of the week, so it's like a boost.
Things were really tight.
Today, the way I see myself is completely different.
Very good. So, good evening, Stella.
Good evening.
Thanks for coming to Finding Answers. Okay. Let us speak about your story. Mm-hmm. So how did everything begin? How did the unhappiness begin?
So there was one point in my life where I was really young and I was sexually abused by the age of 7 by 2 family members. And then from there, I became very shy and very insecure. I was always very closed up, but I never spoke to anyone about this. And going to primary school, everyone's usually quite happy and bubbly, but I was more reserved and to myself. And then sometimes I would be playful, but it wasn't very genuine like a childhood. My childhood wasn't very innocent because from a young age, I was kind of taken away. So as I grew up, I started finding my personality through friends and through music and kind of always trying to fit in, always trying to be the very loud person, always trying to get attention because I never had it growing up. My mum worked a lot. I was left at home quite a lot on my own and having to do things alone. So I was very isolated. So speaking to people was very hard. I was very shy. So communication and learning to ask for help was something I didn't have from a really young age. So getting to college and secondary school, I just didn't really have great communication skills. Even though I seemed like I could communicate, you couldn't ever get to know the real Stella sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And then I went through a really weird phase. Everything was fine. So I had I was working and studying, and I went through a phase where my life kind of just paused and everything started going downhill. I became really sick. So I had stomach ulcers and then I couldn't eat. I became very depressed. I had anxiety. So then I would have really bad panic attacks where my muscles would cramp up and it just got worse. And then I was referred to counselling in hospital. I was referred to counselling twice because I wasn't communicating. My level of progression just stopped. And it was very confusing because my mum couldn't help me, family couldn't help me. And then I would always attend college, but then once my teachers started noticing that, hold on, you're no longer attending, you're always late. They started noticing that I was losing weight. I seemed so uninterested in what was going on because I did hairdressing and that's always been my passion. I was so passionate about it. And then they could see that I was losing interest in it, wasn't turning up. Then it was okay, what's going on? And then even my GP, my doctors tried to get involved, what's going on? I was losing a lot of weight really quickly. And
this was around what age?
This was 19, 18. Mm-hmm. And then I just started trying to find, like you said, happiness. I just tried to find fun and trying to just forget everything I was going through. So then I started going out, clubbing and drink ups and then house parties, and then started smoking, got piercings, was thinking about getting tattoos, and just really trying to be out there just to suppress everything that my mind was going through, and just trying to like silent voices.
Yeah, you know, I think it's important to mention, Stella, that, you know, if people do these things and they're happy and do this, it's not the problem. I think it becomes an issue whether it's piercing or tattooing or nightclubbing or even reading or working out, you know, which are things that people would consider to be positive things. But if I'm thinking that I'm going to be happy because of these things, that's what I believe that the problem lies, because the happiness doesn't start on the outside, it starts on the inside, right? But I wanted to address these issues. Let's see here how we could help. This abuse you mentioned, it was at the age of 7.
Yeah.
It did happen only once, or it was more than once?
It happened once, and then as I got older, every time I moved houses, it kept happening again. So then it was like with different people, different men, and it would be like I would be like getting sexually harassed on the street. Like there was a time I was chased home, or it was at home. So it happened multiple times.
But it happened. Where was your mom? What time did it happen?
It was like they were always working. Every time it happened, no one was ever at home. Or if someone was at home, they weren't, because we always like shared houses. So it was like they weren't immediate family, or they weren't someone I could speak to. So when it would always happen, no one was really around.
Yeah. So that's one very big issue, Pastor Bruno. I think it's already important to address. Because it's not uncommon to have someone come to Finding Answers to say that they went through this kind of abuse, which any kind of abuse should never be considered common. I don't want ever to get, you know, to the point where we have to get used to abuse happening, because it's dead wrong, it's straight out wrong. But it's coming to a point where it's like happening more than ever before. It's not uncommon to find someone come here and say. So I think when it comes to children, parents, even though if they have to work, you know, that long hours to make ends meet, still it's important to make sure that the children are protected so this kind of thing doesn't happen, right? It's a matter of responsibility, I would say.
Because you mentioned something very right there. A child is getting to learn the world now, and at home is where the child, well, supposedly, is supposed to feel it's safest. But that's not always the case. It wasn't the case with Stella, and it wasn't the case with many of our guests we have had here, and that wasn't the case with many people who's maybe watching us right now. And some people carry this mark, this scar, for the rest of their lives, and they think, I can never move on, I can never be happy because of that. But even though that's not supposed to happen, you know, it's also not right to say the person can never be happy because of that. It's possible to turn around.
Yeah, and of course that people have to pay bills, right? There's no mercy when it comes to that. If you don't pay your rent, if you don't pay your mortgage, if you don't pay your bills, you know, you don't have where to live, you don't have services at home, and your mom had to, what about your dad? Was he around?
No, I didn't grow up with my dad, so he was never around.
So it was your mom and yourself. So she had to do most of the work.
Yeah, she did.
So, okay, bills were being paid. I believe she was doing the best, but at the same time, you lacked this connection.
Definitely.
Right? And that is another issue already we're tackling here. So it's also important, Pastor Bruno, that even for parents that have to work long hours, to make sure that there is a connection. It's not only putting the bread on the table and paying the bills and saying, hey, I'm doing a great work as a parent, because otherwise issues may be happening. You know, teenagers and children today are growing up in a society completely different and worse than it was when their parents were growing up. And I think it's important to address these issues. You know, faith is something intelligent. We have to speak about this too. There has to be this connection. Even faith involves that, because God is family, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Family has to do with connection, interaction, trust. It's important.
Yeah, and because of this lack of connection, you see that Stella never felt free to talk about the issue with anyone, not even with her mother. So something else wrong there, because She was not safe at home. It happened in a family environment, and she could not speak about it. She didn't feel free to speak about it. So yes, even though they can come home tired, parents should always make themselves available to talk, to have this communication with the children.
You are a pastor. You work full-time as a pastor 7 days a week. And I know that as a pastor, you have to leave home pretty early and you have to come back home pretty late. You have a child. He's
4.5 years.
4.5 years old now. Pastor Bruno, what kind of advice could you give to parents? Because I believe you can manage having, I know you, I know your son, and I know you have a very good connection. What could you say to the viewer that may be easy struggling with this kind of issue in order to help them?
The best advice I could give is always to try to make time somehow. For example, what I do with my son is we try to find a school close to work, so that I can take him to school every day. I can pick him up every day. Even if it's just to spend that half an hour on the way to go, half an hour, bring him home and stay that time with me. It's precious time.
And I'm sure there is a time that he's looking up to.
Yes.
The moment that my dad is going to come and pick me up.
Yes.
Right? It's a moment that he's okay, you know, my dad will be there and everything. So even, it's not only the amount of time, it's the quality time that you can spend together. Stella, we are going to go to the conclusion of your story. You're going to tell us everything, but we have to go to a break now. In the meantime, if you're really feeling unhappy, remember, we'll do a prayer here towards the end of the episode for all those who are struggling with unhappiness, depression, loneliness, bombarded with negative thoughts. If that is your case, give us a call. Say, I'm watching Finding Answers and I would like to include myself in this prayer. 0207-686-6300. You can give us a call. You can also communicate with us via email, help@findinganswers.tv. We'll be right back.
The pursuit of happiness. What will make you happy? Success? Fame, new shoes, financial security, love, education, independence, family. Sometimes in the pursuit of things we think will bring us happiness, sometimes we fail to see that we aren't happy or we never find it. We live in a world of people. Rather than pursue things to make you happy, what if we all worked to make each other happy? Wouldn't we all be happier?
Welcome back to Finding Answers, and tonight we're talking about it's possible to regain happiness, and we are here talking to our live guest, Stella. So you had traumatic experiences as a child, right? The fact that your mom was not present there all the time did affect you too, and you were looking for happiness in places, in people, in habits, and you could find some fun, but you could not find happiness.
No.
What do you remember, Stella, from your past, you know, when you really were thinking about yourself, you know, those moments where we are doing some self-assessment? What do you remember?
I remember I just used to eat and overeat, like comfort eating, and I would just feel so I would literally feel so sad. Like, I would be like, is this life? You know when you're in your room and it's like, so this is me. This is it. Mm-hmm. And it was like, that's when I knew that, wow, like I have nothing. There's nothing. I'm not moving anywhere. I just felt so alone. It was like you're crying out, but you're not opening your mouth to cry out. You're just kind of sitting there. You're not doing anything. And you feel like no one's listening. No one can help you. And even I was useless to myself. I couldn't get up and help myself. And it was like I had no motivation to help myself. I was just literally like a vegetable, just not doing much.
Did you try at some point, I mean, before trying faith, did you try at some point anything to get help?
Anything else? I tried like exercising. I was referred to counselling. I tried speaking to people, but I hated that. I didn't like that, so I never went. I tried like music, walks in the parks. I hate reading. I even tried reading, watching movies. It's just going out. I tried to like find a friend. Didn't help. Nothing helped. Literally nothing helped.
Yeah, because you see, Pastor Bruno, this goes hand in hand with what we were saying here in the beginning. There's a lot of positive things that people can do. Music is a great thing. Good music, positive music is a great thing. Working out is awesome. Walking in the parks, amazing. Watching good movies, that's nice. But that's not what's gonna make you happy. That's why sometimes people get frustrated, because they follow all these instructions. Oh, do this, try that, do this and that. To the point they start to close up to say, you know, I'm not even gonna try to get help anymore because nothing ever works. I've tried all these things. Some even say, oh, I tried everything, which is evidently a wrong statement. First of all, no one knows what everything is. But I understand the frustration of trying so many different things and nothing works. And suddenly you start believing, hey, you know, probably that's it. You know, that's the way. I just have to live with it. And some people don't want to live with it. That's when it gets dangerous. That's when it gets really, really dangerous, because then these thoughts begin to come, which are evil thoughts. Evil. Thoughts from evil. I'm not saying that people have these thoughts are evil. I'm saying that these thoughts come from evil. There's good and there's evil. There's good thoughts and there's evil thoughts. And the source of evil thoughts is evidently not God. But we also have to understand you are living in a world where not everything is physical, dear viewer. There's a spiritual realm also. And in the spiritual realm, there's only two fields. Only two realms. Good and evil. Either one or the other is in control, I could say. So that's where, Pastor Bruno, to find the happiness is not doing these things. You can do these things, but you have to first have a close relationship with God. And that is not through religion, A, B, or C. It's not religion. It's faith.
It's through faith, and I do believe the prayer, we'll say at the end of this program, be the first step. It's not everything, but it is a big step to change the situation. And also, based on what Jesus said, he said, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And all these other things, which things? Like exercising, like you said, having friends, you know, having a relationship, a family, having a diploma, all these other things will be added to you. So these other things, they come when the person has the happiness inside. So they complete, but they are not the essence. The essence is what Jesus said, seek the kingdom of God first.
So, dear viewer, your mistake may be, and I'm saying it in a good way, that you tried everything, but you didn't really try to have a true connection with God, to really get closer to him, to really learn about faith, to develop the faith that is in you. For instance, some people say, I don't think I have enough faith in me. That's already a statement that shows that they don't understand how faith operates, because it's not about the size of your faith. The faith that you have in you is a God-given gift. So he knows past, present, and future. So he gave you the right amount that you need. So it's not about having more faith, but strengthening the faith that you have. Is like your muscles. You don't need more muscles. I don't know how many muscles are in the human body, but there's a certain amount of muscles there. You don't need more muscles. But if you want to be physically stronger, you need to work out the muscles you have. So with faith, it's the same principle. You know, maybe you have very strong muscles, but very weak faith. And that's why you are unhappy, even with a beautiful body, even with an attractive body. You're so careful with your diet, with your health, with your habits and everything, and that's great. But the happiness comes when your faith gets strong. And how does your faith get strong? When you hear the words that come from God. These words will generate in you the right thoughts. So once again, if you want help, and you're saying, Edward, what I'm hearing here, what I'm seeing here is actually helping, I would like to know more about this. The phone number appears on your screen, okay? And you can give us a call right now. Stella, so how about your life today? What did you do to discover faith, and how did that change your life?
So I had to, first of all, I had to really understand that I had to come to terms and look at myself and say, okay, my life isn't great, it isn't fine. Sometimes you go on with life and you think everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. And sometimes even when you know that something isn't right, you're blindfolded and you accept what you're seeing. And I had to come to terms with, okay, Stella, what you're seeing and what's happening isn't right. So that was the first step for me. I had to understand that what's going on is not right, isn't normal, and isn't okay, and I shouldn't be suffering like that. Then I had to start changing my mindset, my thinking, because in my head I was already like, what's the point? I was even suicidal. I was like, what's the point? I should just give up. I should just quit. Like, I can't do this. So I had to really start thinking positively, start applying what I heard. I read my Bible a lot more. I read more positive things. I surrounded myself with positive people, because sometimes you're in a crowd and it's like you're all in the same mess. Like, we're all sitting in the same mud and we're all just playing with it. No one is standing out and we're all just drowning ourselves. So I had to really get out of that environment and really surround myself with positivity and really building and strengthening my mind, because I had such a weak mind. It was like before I even done a task, I already felt it and I haven't even tried it. Do you know what I mean? So those were the things.
But did at some point God came into the picture?
Definitely. I had to start. I didn't have a connection with God. I just felt like I could do everything by myself. And it was like, okay, so they're saying that you're real. So now I'm gonna really test you. I'm not gonna lose anything, because in my head it was like, I've already lost everything and I don't have anything. So what's the worst that can happen? What can I actually lose but only gain? So I really had to like, okay, God, so I'm gonna come to you now, and I know you're gonna help me because you're my only hope. You're the only thing I've got left. So I had to really go and find.
So you opened up to God. You opened your heart, right? Your mind.
Yeah.
What has changed ever since?
My mindset is so much different. I am now I truly have joy. You know, sometimes we're all gonna go through problems. You're always gonna have battles, but it's like my mind is so strong, and my relationship with God helps me to face the next day. Sometimes you know, okay, I've got to sleep now. The next day is gonna be a fight. But it's like, okay, I'm going to sleep now. The next day is gonna be a fight that I'm going to achieve, I'm going to win, and I'm going to be in control of my life. And that was something I never was in control of my own life. For you not to be in control of your own life, then there's a problem. So was really able to take control of my life. And
how long has it been since faith came into the picture?
It's been when I really grabbed it, I would say a year and some months. Yeah.
Okay, so it was not an overnight kind of thing.
No.
It was a process, right? So probably before this, you would categorize yourself as unhappy, if you were to be sincere.
Definitely.
Being sincere, very honest today, how would you categorize yourself among the happy or the unhappy ones?
I'm really happy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, sometimes you think, oh, they're just saying it. They've been told. I'm really happy. Like, genuinely, if you know me personally, I'm really happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for sharing your story. Okay, congratulate you on the courage, you know, to share some of the things you shared tonight. And I believe that many people are being inspired right now by your story. Thank you very much, okay? So this is it, viewer. For for this time. We're going to make a break here and come back with a prayer. But she touched a very important point here, which I believe is important to emphasize. I was trying to do everything on my own. I believed that I could do everything with the strength of my arms. And this is also probably an issue that you've been having. If you've been having issues with not seeing results, it's because you're believing too much on yourself and zero on God, or very little on God. It's not only about believing everything 100% in God and zero in yourself. That doesn't work either, but there has to be a balance. You have to believe in God and in yourself. It's not only one or the other. It's the combination of both that produces amazing changes and results and leads one to happiness. I hope you have received help through her story, and once again, you can still call us. We're going to go to a break and come back with a prayer on your behalf.
Where DKW, a different kind of woman. So I want to find out if you might have dyslexia.
My memory's not too good today.
And it's almost like you have to be this superwoman.
Years and years ago when I watched Titanic, and obviously My Heart Will Go On came on, and it just brought me back to that time.
And I was with 4 other sisters. Lord have mercy. So you know how they were. You're not gonna go over there and say nothing.
Come on, a little closer now, and let me know that you're mine. Woo!
It's going to be your turn to do your macaroons. No competition.
We're here at Britain's Top Designer 2015.
This is DKW. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Follow My Channel's updates on Facebook. Like your favourite videos and see pictures of your favourite artists. Access our Twitter @MyChannelUK and get to know what's on with My Channel. Visit tvmychannel.com and be connected to our world. My Channel, a whole new world of entertainment.
If I tell you a story, and you like that story, what kind of story is it?
It's a comedy.
No. Manchester
United.
I'm a pro.
Although I'm Chelsea. Love talk, time to communicate.
No, okay. Say that word, but differently.
It's time to communicate. Right, so we are in a relationship.
What were you doing? You're not supposed to tell me the word. We are in a marriage.
Yes.
Okay.
And we are very serious about it. So what does that say?
A serious marriage.
No. It has to do with your brain.
Intelligence.
What?
Intelligent love.
Yes. See, I'm getting good at this.
Love Talk on My Channel, Sky 203, every Saturday, 3 p.m.
I was experiencing a lot of bereavement. I had a very good friend of mine who some guys jumped him, they stabbed him in the throat and he died. Not long after that, later on, then my grandmother passed away. 8 months after, 9 months after, then my mother passed away too. That one really rocked me because that's the first person you know in your life. And then just about 8 months after that, then my dad died as well. Now, taken from there, that I've lost all these people, and then after the relationship I was in broke down, and I had a young one who was abducted to another country as well, so everything had crashed. On top of that, it just got worse, where I lost my job, I had no finances, losing where I'm living. A dear friend of mine who was quite close, we walked down to, it was Dalston actually, and it was the market. When I entered the market, there was a group of people there, And what happened was, one of them particularly handed me this newspaper. And when he handed me this newsletter, something inside me said, look, why don't you go and have a look? So I went, and I saw a lot of people screaming and praying, and I thought, this isn't really for me at the time. And I left, but I left there with a massive headache and still not right, and things kind of got worse. And it came to the point where you've got nothing to cling to. But I remember when somebody else, I was having a battle, I was with a solicitor, and he turned to me and he had his book there, and he closed his book and he said, Mr. Brown, are you a man of God? And I thought, let me go back to that place and have a look. From the moment I went back to the church, my whole life changed. I was being counselled by one of the pastors there who advised the chain of prayer. What else could I hold on to? I had nothing else. So I went with it. Today, I'm happily remarried. My career is going up and up. Everything around me is just good. And the main thing was, when I would go back to when I was in the market, the gentleman who actually came up to and gave me that newspaper, he probably wouldn't remember now, was Mr. Effie. That actually invited me. I've never regretted that day.
This is an encouragement for us to continue doing what we do, to put smiles on as many people's faces as we can. Because what we do, it's really a priceless gift that we can give to people, and the joy is to see them here with us.
Welcome back to Finding Answers. We are approaching the end of tonight's episode, and we have prepared here a glass with water. If you would like, you can still prepare one. We're going to join our faith very soon with a prayer on your behalf. But Pastor Bruno, I think that all in all, what really stands out is when people try to achieve whether happiness or prosperity, peace, success in life, all across the board and everything, by excluding God, actually it becomes an impossible mission to accomplish, because He's our creator. He didn't design the human being to be disconnected from Him. But you can see that even when someone is doing very poorly in life, when they have a connection with God through faith, they don't need a religion, they need faith, then everything changes. They really start succeeding. They start to see little by little, step by step, the results that they need to see.
Sure. God, I can give these comparisons like the first button of the shirt. If you get the first one wrong, you get all the rest wrong. Yeah. You get the first one right, you get the others right. So God has to be in the first place.
That's absolutely right. So listen, it doesn't matter what you've done, where you've been, where you are. If you in this moment will simply open your heart, pray with us, and say, oh my God, I'm doing poorly, I'm desperate. Please help. Just saying this, you will already perceive a difference. Let's unite our faith. It's the moment of prayer.
Prepare now for the moment of prayer. If you would like us to make a prayer concerning your family and loved ones, send your name and prayer request to help@findinganswers.tv.
God, right now, we unite our faith with those that feel forgotten, forsaken, alone, sad, empty, desperate, lost. I know no one is beyond reach. No one is beyond your reach when they look for help, when they say, God, I need help. I don't know how to speak to you. I don't know how to say the right words, but I'm dying. I'm grasping for air, and I need you to throw me a lifeline. I know that you are much more than a lifeline. I know that you are the God with unlimited power to come to the aid and the rescue of those who call out to you. David said, Cry out to God on the day of affliction. Actually, he said those words inspired by you. You said we should cry out to you on the day of trouble, and you would deliver us. You would set us free. And then, once being set free, we would glorify you. How can someone glorify you crying tears of despair, unable to sleep, without any peace? Impossible, Lord. It's impossible. So right now I ask you, shine your light over this person, wherever they are watching us from their office, their house, their bedroom, my Lord, the hospital bed, even a prison cell. I don't know where this person is right now, but right now we remove by faith all negativity, the negative thoughts, the oppression, the loneliness. By the power of God, leave this person now. In Jesus' name, dear friend, be free. Take a deep breath now. Do it as your lungs are filled with air. Be filled with the presence of God. The Spirit of God is working in you now. We bless this glass of water, and when you drink, immediately you will feel energized. You will feel healed. You will perceive God's power flowing through you. And if you believe and you receive this prayer, you can say, Amen, and drink the water now. Well, dear viewer, it was a pleasure being with you until now. Remember that tomorrow we'll be here together at the same time and station with another episode of Finding Answers. Until then, God bless you. Bye-bye.